Hello there, vinyl community. This is Rich at Embarrassment of Riches, and I'm here to show off the mini stack that I brought home from Record Store Day this year. It's the only day of the year that I'll get out of bed before 6 o'clock in the morning that doesn't include me smelling smoke. I was happy to be there. There wasn't a huge line at my closest local store. The other local store wasn't participating this year, and we got to the store about a little bit before 7 a.m. and there were maybe 15 people already in line, which isn't bad. I've seen worse. And in the ensuing hour or so before the store opened, another 15 to 20 queued up behind us. And the first 3 or 4 guys that came out had 2 bags pretty loaded up. And I'm sure one of them had that mud honey box set I was looking for. That's just how it goes. Regardless, it was a good time, and it's always fun to meet other record collectors. It may well be because I've moved a couple thousand miles away from all my closest friends, but it seems like there's not a lot of people to talk records with. So one of the few times outside of conventions or texting with my friends, I don't get to talk records unless I'm in line at a record store day. And this is held true when I went to them in California, Missouri, New Jersey, and here in Pennsylvania as well. It's a very friendly community of people who otherwise are probably pretty solitary with just them and their records. And as ever, I'd like to thank my family for hanging out with me on a rather cold Saturday morning in southern Pennsylvania. I know it's not everybody's idea of a good time, but they were kind enough to come along with me, and I always appreciate it. So this is a redo. I'm a little bit late, but I want to participate because I'm as excited as everybody else was for this year's Record Store Day. So let's go. First up is one of the ones I was really excited about. It's Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros, Rock Art in the X-Ray Style, the 25th anniversary remastered edition on 2 bright pink LPs, which is kind of cool. I love when they have something to do with the cover and it all blends together pretty well. And the remaster on this one seems to have taken away some of the sins committed by the Hellcat release maybe a dozen years ago or so that I didn't like the sound of at all. So I'm glad to see this one. I believe this was an edition of 1800. So I'm glad to have found it. And continuing on, another classic, the Dead Milkmen's Bucky Fellini. This is another remastered punk rock classic that I'm glad to see. I think there were 5,000 of these. So I imagine any crusty old punk rocker like myself could have rolled his old bones out of bed at 6 a.m. and found this one pretty much anywhere in the country. But it is a great album, and there are extra ephemera with band pictures and pictures of flyers, I believe, as well. The original Bucky Fellini poster has been reprinted, and extra respect. All the label profits from this are going to be going to charity, and that's something you always like to see, is the altruism that is in punk rock. Moving along with some of the great records that I ended up finding on last Saturday. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the French concert. It's a 1966 show in Limoges, France. I had mentioned earlier in my Excitement RSD video a few weeks ago, the things I wanted to get, that this is primarily one of the ones I'm very much looking forward to. I had really only heard her earlier concert, I think it was Sister Live, and it was from 1958. And I mean, I'm glad it exists at all as an audio artifact of a great artist, but there's some sound to be desired. It's kind of tinny. The separation isn't all that great, but she has a powerhouse voice and virtuoso. Her great guitar playing is always front and center along with her voice. This was also an edition of 1800, so I had little hopes of finding it out here in the middle of nowhere, but I was lucky. It was the only one the store had. And continuing along, another one that I'm very happy to have found, Willie Nelson's Phases and Stages. I have a copy from Vinyl Me Please that I got maybe a month or two ago as a monthly country release, and it's a remaster and it's on colored vinyl or whatever, but it's a great album and I was happy to have it. But when I found out that Record Store Day was releasing this one as a 2 LP with a disc full of the album as alternate takes, Well, that's how you get people like me to buy multiple copies of an album. You just throw a little bone to a collector, and they're going to be out there. I don't chase color variations or any bullshit like that. But if there is some value added stuff along with it, chances are it's going to get my attention, and I'm going to come running along and holding out my wallet. And like I said, this has one of those things that I love about reissues, the inclusion of alternate takes. If a record has demos or rarities, alternate takes, live versions, I'm all that much more interested. Because I'm not a musician, I love the process of how a song goes from an idea to being a finished song, and any part of that process that I can get to sit in on and watch or listen, I'm generally going to be interested in, especially if it's a great like Willie Nelson. And this also was 4,500 copies. So I was pretty confident I was going to find this eventually and not have to pay any of the aftermarket bullshit prices. So I think I still got lucky. This next one was probably the biggest surprise of the bunch because I had actually mentioned this exact artist and exact show in my requests for that one. So I might be something of an RSD influencer at this point. But I'm not going to brag. This is Jim Croce live, 1973, the final tour. And if you've seen any of my previous videos, my love for Jim Croce is well documented. I was just surprised that I had spoken about this very show and one of the two songs included on here that had never been released before from him, the hilarious Ball of Caramure, adapted from a Robbie Burns poem. It's hilarious, but I mean, don't play it around your children, that's for damn sure. But I was most really requesting this one to be done because there aren't many live documents officially, maybe not any, of just the charm that Jim Croce had. And I mean, his ability to tell a story well is evident in all of his hit songs. But in the breaks between songs and his live shows, his banter with the audience is just great. I mean, he is sorely missed. And I've had this one as a FLAC and MP3 file for over 20 years now, and I've listened to it probably hundreds of times. And I'm grateful now to have this one in my stacks over here that I can grab when I want to throw it on the turntable. So a limited edition, and I got one. There may have been more before I was there, but I certainly got the last one at my local record store. So happy to have it. Here's one. The Mighty Lemon Drops, Ricochet, first time released on vinyl. This seemingly little known band from Wolverhampton, England. One of my favorites from that era. Sire Records had a fucking killer stable of alternate artists at one time. I mean, they label mates Echo and the Bunnymen kind of sounded similar as well, but that's a sound that appeals to me and I've long enjoyed. So to see this one for the first time on vinyl, I'm very grateful to have it. And really, at only 1,100 of these, I thought my chances might be pretty slim, considering my location. And again, with a couple of the other ones, it may not be the only one they had ordered, but when I got there, it was the only one left. So yes, I snatched this one out pretty quickly. And I am extra grateful because an artifact like this would not be released without the clamoring of a lot of fans, a lot of old men, much like myself, screaming and yelling that this band needs to be heard. And 1,100 is a respectable amount to release, and hopefully it foreshadows the re-release of a lot of their catalog because they have some really good albums. And how about an entire reissue campaign, because their album World Without End is really, really good, and I would love to see that on vinyl out here for a decent price. So, you know, if I am the record store day influencer I am in my dreams, then, you know, they're going to hear that and we can get on that next year. And here's a really fun one up next. The Non-Stop Extended Cabaret from the great Soft Cell. This is a record of extended remixes of songs culled from the CD box set, I believe, that was released last year or the year before for their great album, Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret. And sure, it was intended for CDs, but I don't play CDs anymore, and I haven't for a very long time. I'd have to go in my PS5 in the other room to throw a CD in, and my real stereo is out here. So that's not going to happen. So this one has a number of people's underwear and a twist, and it really only confirms my non-scientific study that I had done that shows that collectors fall into two groups. There's a 50-50 split, and there's one half of us who loves collecting, loves talking about and sharing what we collect, and just enjoys music and buys whatever we think we're going to enjoy. And the other 50% are whiny little bitches, and they're just going to complain about everything, and sure as fuck they're going to complain about the thing you like the most. So don't feed the trolls. Buy what you want to listen to and enjoy it. I did. And lastly, on the album front at least, one that I've been enjoying for many years as a FLAC and MP3 file, and was really hoping someday to own on vinyl, is the Ramones 1975 Sire demos. This here is a thoroughly enjoyable 26-minute adventure into early Ramones, or at least pre-first album Ramones. And a lot like other Ramones records, you really just drop the stylus, sit down and hang on, because they're going to roar through whatever they're playing, and you just got to hang on and grin. Most all of the 1976 self-titled debut album is represented here in all of its messy glory, but what you do get is a pre-fame version of the power that these dudes possessed, and how much better they would get in the years to come. I'm glad to have this one in the collection. I bought only one 7-inch record this time around because I'm doing my best to not buy things that I'm likely to never play, and that's 7-inch records. If I had a turntable next to my chair, maybe I would change 45s all day, but I'm not getting up and walking across the fucking room just to change a 3-minute song. But what I will do, and am happy to do, is to support artists that I believe deserve the support. And one of them is Frank Turner. He did a 7-inch this year called Girl from the Record Shop. And he's one of the singer-songwriters I've enjoyed the most in about the last 20 years. And he's a great supporter of Record Store Day as well in England. And even when he's in the States, he'll do the same thing. He's a powerhouse of an individual. And if you get the chance to see him in concert, I would highly recommend it. He still puts on a hell of a show, and you will get your money's worth. So that is it for me. That's my 2024 Record Store Day mini haul of 7 or 8 records. It's not the most I've ever had, but the quality is high, and I'm glad to have them. And I'm grateful for the vinyl community and everyone making their great videos on what they got for Record Store Day and their opinions of what they bought and what they missed, kind of like I just did. This is a great community, and I'm thankful for the support. And this is a little bit late, but I certainly can't be the last one posting the Record Store Day finds. So I'll be looking for yours. If I don't leave a comment on yours, just let me know in my comments, and I'll check yours out too. Thanks a lot. See you later. And I had actually made this video 3 days ago now, but there's a window behind where the camera is set up. This is my office here. There's a window when it was the rare sunny day here in Pennsylvania lately, and I filmed an entire video because I don't have the monitor's not facing me. I can only see the cameras pointing at me, not the playback. But while I was filming the entire time, 15 or 20 minutes, I'm holding up a vague rectangle that only shows sunlight on the outline of that window and houses across the street in it, and I'm talking about it like you can all see what the fuck I'm holding, and I'm just basically just moving around a bright light, the camera, and fucking yammering for 15 minutes. So this is a redo. I'm a little bit